Todo ano, Perséfone deve passar 3 meses com Hades. É durante esse tempo que sua mãe, Deméter, deusa da agricultura, fica inconsolável. Dessa forma, todo ano, os campos ficam estéreis sob o frio do inverno. Assim, as grandes privações da vida eram explicadas. As dificuldades pessoais, entretanto, eram explicadas através de alguma ofensa aos deuses. Os que ofendiam os deuses eram punidos, não por alguma autoridade terrestre, mas pelos próprios deuses.
There's a Greek word, in fact, deisidaimonia, which means fear of the gods or respect for the gods. And this was a positive thing. Life was felt to be fairly precarious, and you needed to do everything you could to get whatever powers ruled the world on your side to keep safe. Many of them lived one drought away from starvation, and you just didn't mess around with the world like that.
One of the things I love about Greek myth is it never lets people off the hook. It never says, this happened because the gods made it happen. It's our fault if we can just understand why. It's sort of I think, a difficult world to exist in.
Num mundo difícil, as pessoas sempre buscam um herói. Alguém que traga a libertação de uma vida aparentemente cheia de adversidades. Alguns acreditam que a criança nascida de um deus grego e uma mãe humana prognosticou o surgimento de Cristo. Estaria isso destinado a acontecer? A seguir, duas das maiores figuras na mitologia grega e como elucidam a ideia de destino versus livre-arbítrio na Grécia Antiga.
É fantástico. Vamos.
Uma das figuras mais famosas na mitologia grega pode ter ajudado a construir um caminho para um evento posterior crucial na história humana. Herades, mais conhecido como Hércules, nasceu porque o grande deus Zeus cobiçou uma bela mortal. Mas ela era uma esposa fiel. Zeus tomou a aparência de seu marido e teve relações com ela. O abuso é complementado pelo fato do próprio Zeus ser casado com uma de suas irmãs, Hera.
The notion that the gods are not always ethical, not always honest, is also one that makes sense when you think about it. And the Greeks seem to have been comfortable with it for many centuries. It makes sense because if the gods are humans, but better off somehow, more strong, more powerful, immortal, they never have to take the consequences of anything they do, whereas humans do. The burden of acting ethically, of thinking about consequences, falls on human beings, not on gods.
Hera não podia desabafar sua raiva sobre Zeus. Num ato totalmente característico de um deus grego, ela volta sua ira contra a criança nascida da infidelidade de seu marido. Hércules é talvez o mais famoso herói grego, uma figura particularmente importante na mitologia grega. Mesmo na infância, Hércules era dotado de extraordinária força. Hera envia serpentes mortais para seu berço e Hércules estrangula as duas.
Many of the Greek heroes did in fact have one divine parent and one mortal parent. More generally, a hero was a man of more than normal strength, who was somehow marked out for a life of achievement, but also a life of enormous difficulty. They were very difficult to integrate into society precisely because of their great capacities.
A vingativa Hera continua a perseguir o filho ilegítimo de seu marido durante toda a sua vida, levando-o de tempos em tempos a acessos de raiva e loucura. Lamentando profundamente os assassinatos e outros crimes cometidos durante esses acessos, Hércules se encarrega de grandes tarefas, geralmente da morte de tiranos e monstros. No fim de sua vida, Hércules ganha a imortalidade e é levado por seu pai, Zeus, para viver com ele no Monte Olimpo. Assim sendo, a história de Hércules pode ter aberto caminho para o apóstolo Paulo, que levaria a palavra de uma nova fé para os gregos séculos depois.
They had a story of a son of God, Heracles, who suffered and died and then went through an apotheosis, himself went up to Olympus. And so the story of another son of God who suffered and died and went to heaven would not be all that unfamiliar. In the same way, the notion that a God could take on human form and look exactly like one of us was completely acceptable to a pagan Greek audience. And so early Christianity proceeded in Greece and struck roots in Greece quite easily.
Not quite a Christ figure, but elements of that, because it was someone who through toil and suffering and labor and loyalty achieved divinity.
Mesmo Hércules sendo único, ele é apenas um dos muitos heróis que andaram entre os gregos. Há também Aquiles e Ulisses, grandes guerreiros da Guerra de Troia. E Teseu, cujos feitos incluem ter matado o aterrador Minotauro, a criatura que banqueteava com a carne de jovens gregos. Mas os heróis não precisavam descender dos deuses, e nem eram necessariamente heróicos nos padrões atuais. Para os gregos antigos, um herói era alguém que rompia os elos com a vida comum a despeito das consequências.
It's not necessary that a hero be descended from a god or a goddess. It's not necessary that a hero even do something good in life. And so achievement is more doing something extraordinary and being recognized for it. Now, the extraordinary thing that a hero could do could even be killing a number of the enemy or killing people in his own community in such a strange fashion that the gods have to be consulted. So the heroes are dangerous, unusual individuals, extraordinary but not necessarily extraordinarily good.
Heroes really are a projection of what it is to be human on a large scale. They really focus both the great potential of human beings at their best and also the vulnerabilities of humans.
Outro herói improvável foi Édipo, que matou seu pai e desposou a mãe. Tendo cumprido seu destino terrível, Édipo arranca seus olhos e busca a redenção. É uma história para adultos que fala sobre o lado negro dos sentimentos entre pais e filhos.
I think there definitely was a thread of Greek culture and of Greek mythology which was interested in the conflict between father and son. Obviously, Sigmund Freud saw this and picked up on it in the story of the Oedipus and the Oedipus complex. And I think there was a thread of generational conflict that the Greeks actually feared but recognized as real at the same time.
A história de Édipo e de seus pais levanta outra questão imemorial. As vidas dos seres humanos são pré-determinadas? Ou os humanos têm poder de exercer o livre-arbítrio?
Oedipus is someone who, for no reason ever given, has this fate that he will kill his father and marry his mother. When Oedipus has realized that he is not the son of the king of Corinth, as he thought he was, he says, I count myself the child of chance. And by chance, he means something very random. There is no plan. By the end of the play, it's turned out that everything he has ever done has fit into a plan. And that if he is the child of chance, it's chance in the sense that closely allied to fate.
He, Oedipus, the man, made choices. When he learned he was going to kill his father and marry his mother, he fled his home, not knowing he was adopted. And of course meets his father on the road and kills him and arrives in the city and marries his mother. He chose to leave his home. He did a terrible thing, but he didn't do it trying to do evil. And fate didn't make him do it.
A questão do destino pessoal versus o papel do livre-arbítrio era de tamanha importância para os gregos antigos que eles personificaram o destino na forma de 3 deusas.
When you read the poetry of Homer, it seems that it goes 2 ways. On the one hand, the Fates are a group of 3 women, Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos. Their names mean the weaver, the allotter, and not turning back. And they weave a thread for each person's life when that person is born and determine when that person's life is going to end. On the other hand, we see in Homer's poetry that fate is a power above the gods. The gods bow to fate in several instances.
You can look at the story of Oedipus and talk about fate. Was he fated to kill his father and marry his mother? Yes. What does that mean? Does that mean he didn't have any free will? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that's what was going to happen.
The Greeks had a complicated view of how the world worked. On the one hand, the gods controlled a lot of actions of human beings or had an effect upon it. But yet, the humans also could control their own individual destinies and call a lot of the shots. So there's this funny relationship between what the gods control and what humans control. And you know what? They loved this ambiguity.
Assim sendo, os gregos antigos chegaram ao acordo de que não havia garantias na vida. Algumas de suas preocupações parecem assustadoramente familiares hoje em dia.
This consciousness that the Greeks have that you cannot have too many generations on the earth at the same time is even expressed in a myth, the myth of the beginning of the Trojan War, which says that the earth was burdened with too many people and cried out to Zeus to relieve her burden. And so Zeus invented the Trojan War to get rid of a lot of people.
A seguir, em Deuses e Deusas, as falhas e defeitos das divindades gregas e por que deuses imperfeitos faziam pleno sentido na Grécia Antiga.
O que
As histórias de deuses e deusas da Grécia Antiga são eternas. Elas ainda têm significado para nós hoje. Entre as divindades, havia 2 grupos de adoráveis irmãs que habitavam o Monte Olimpo: as graças e as musas. As graças conferiam beleza, charme e gratidão ao mundo dos mortais. As musas tinham um profundo impacto em como as gerações transmitiam os contos de deuses e deusas e as sagas de toda uma era através da tradição oral. De seu elevado patamar, elas desciam até a terra para ensinar história, astronomia e artes.
Each one of the 9 muses is associated with a particular subject, usually concerning the arts and sciences. For instance, Clio, the proclaimer, is the one that is associated with epic poetry and is the muse of history. Now, the muses are very well known because we have words like museum, the seat of the muses, that are in contemporary English, and of course Greek.
Greek stories are about those things that people regard as important. They wouldn't have persisted if they weren't. I mean, if stories are going to last and be retold for several thousand years, there must be something in them that has meaning for the people who hear them across generations.
Havia sinais do divino em toda parte. Para os gregos, os deuses eram tão reais quanto os campos que aravam e as famílias que constituíam.
The number of little shrines